And you're one of the last Olympic champions in this event, Greg.
Great Britain reigning Olympic champions in this event from way back in 1992. Thanks for name dropping that one for me. A very happy day, 25 years ago. But it's all about these crews today. Just see at the finish line the crews from previous race, the PR3 rowing off, and now we go up to the start for the Cox Pairs final.
Most of these crews won't have raced this season. There's not a lot of events for Cox Pairs. There was one at Lucerne where the Germans and Spanish, we'll talk you through them, did contest it. Only 2 or 3 crews in that event. But, well, Vincenzo Abbignali, he's come back after the 2 years he had out for the sport, missed the Olympics because of that 3 missed doping tests. There's the Germans. Johannes Wiesen, the 21-year-old Cox, out of sight in the bows. Malte Grossmann and Finn Schröder. The heat winners, Tim Clark closest to you and furthest away. Tom Ford, 24 years of age, Cox by the 19-year-old or 23-year-old Harry Brightmore. Australia, they won the other heat, the massive bulk of Angus Widdicombe, the 23-year-old in the stroke seat. Darcy Rook behind him in the bows, Cox by James Rook. The 2 Hungarians, more familiar faces in the pair without Coxon, Adrian Juhas and Junior Bella Simon. And the Spanish, Jamie Lara Pacheco in the bows and Marco Sardelli Gil, 23 years of age, in the stroke seat. And you get a glance there of the Cox and the information system they have in the race.
Yeah, it's good. I guess most people won't be used to seeing Cox Pairs necessarily, but you can see the Cox actually lies down inside the hull of the boat. We call it bow loaded, with the head just propped out up like that. You caught a glimpse earlier of that stroke coach system, which feeds back information, which the Cox then shares with the crew.
I'll tell you what's going to be interesting in this is just to compare the time of these guys to the men's singles.
As we have all the crews away in the start now. Good start there from the Australians in the middle of the course, in lane 4. Certainly one of the favourites, along with the British crew, I think, in the middle.
Yeah, and these guys aren't the fastest rowers in each of their teams. Generally, the Cox Pair is seen as a development boat, and why I say compare it to the men's singles is normally the 2 are very equivalent. So the fastest singles time was Tom Barris in 6:49. Let's see how close the British Cox Pair, who will have trained with Barris in training camp, get to him.
We can see the Australians on screen there, Angus Widdicombe and Darcy Ruck. James Rook, the coxswain, in the front of the boat.
Yeah, the 2 Brits there closest to you. Tim Clark from Leander Club, that's a well-established rowing club in Henley, and Tom Ford also from Leander Club through their development system. And there's a look of Thomas Guado Diaz, the 25-year-old Spanish Cox. It's interesting, we were talking with Mark Prader, the Aussie coach of this Australian Cox Pair, and he said there isn't a Cox Pair in Australia for them to practice in. I was gobsmacked by that.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's only their 2nd or 3rd row, actually, in the Cox Pair. And these 2 men, Darcy and Angus from Victoria, Darcy from Queensland, James also from Victoria, the coxswain. They were actually in the under-23 men's 8 for Australia last year. They're now based in the National Training Centre in Canberra. They raced in the men's 8, I think, at the first World Cup that they did, and then there's been a lot of chopping and changing amongst all of the Australian crews, and now find themselves effectively as the spares to the 4 and the 8.
Well, we have compared this boat to the single. A lot can happen in a Cox Pairs race, but this is a very strong start from Australia. They will now be feeling the pain. They're going to have to carry that the rest of the way down the course. Interesting to see if the rest of the field can now check them at this distance of a bit of clear water. The British lying in 2nd, perhaps with a more sustainable pace, whether they'll be able to get back on terms and challenge for the gold medal.
Yeah, through the first quarter in 1:41. I mean, that's a pretty decent time, isn't it, as we ride with the 2 Brits, coached by Rob Dauncey. Generally,
there's a nice smoothness, really, about that British crew, as opposed to a little bit more aggression and power in the Australian boat. I'm not sure if they're moving anymore, but that's a pretty big lead to have in any boat.
Look, these 2 Aussie guys are extremely strong. When I saw that they were going to be in the Cox Pair, I thought they'd probably be one of the top contenders. They're physically very big, very strong. I mean, if there's a boat that they're going to do well in, the Cox Pair is going to be it.
When I look at these stroke rates, I think they're all doing the right thing, really, to keep the stroke rate up, keep it ticking along. It's a heavy boat with the extra additional weight of the coxswain weighing in at 55 kilograms, about 115 pounds. That's a lot of dead weight to carry. You don't want to let the boat stop because it dips down into the water. So we have a look here in the German boat.
Great race here from the Germans. Malte Jaschmann in the bows of that boat took the Cox Pair title in Lucerne earlier this year. His partner Finn Schroeder in the stroke seat was in the men's Cox's Pair, which would have been a higher ranked boat. He's had to step down into the Cox Pair, but we go through 1,000 metres. That'll give us some idea of the pace of this race, 3:25. So we're looking for something around 6:50, 6:51, 52, which is a pretty equivalent time to the men's singles. So the standard of this event pretty good, Greg.
It is a good stand in this event, and the British here, we see them in this third quarter. Now's the time they've got to make a move. They're going to get back on terms with that classy Australian crew out in front, who we see. They look strong, they look powerful, they're moving along nicely. Not necessarily quite as efficient as you might think, but you get away with a little bit more in a Cox Pair because it has a momentum of its own.
Yeah, I think if ever a boat type was made for these two men, I mean, they were in the Cox's 4 back in Lucerne, finished 11th, 4th place in the men's 8 in Poznan, 8th place in the under-23 8 in Poznan. So this is new territory, it's medal territory for them, and it looks like they found the boat type of their dreams. Two big men, and they've really been coached well by Mark Prater to get every ounce of their physique into moving the boat in the best way.
And I think it's interesting to see the German crew now pushing back on the British, looking to get into these medal positions, the Hungarians as well. So we're going to be in a real race for the podium as well as the Australians out in front.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the Germans. I'll tell you what, if they've looked at the Hungarians' form, they will be worried, because I've seen the Hungarians go absolutely mad on their sprint in the last 250 metres. And these Germans, they're hurting. Finn Schroeder in the stroke seat, you can see.
And I thought maybe the gap was starting to close up to the Aussies. Maybe they were getting a little bit tired, but they are still the fastest moving boat on the course. So I don't think there's any risk of them being caught now, as they're starting to come down towards the end, still with a very big gap. But it is the Hungarians here who are looking to get themselves onto terms and into the medals.
Yeah, they've come into the pair with Cox, out of the Cox's Pair, because they thought they might have more success. They took the Europeans with a fantastic sprint in Brandenburg in 2016, and for my money, I think they could take the silver in this race.
Well, we've compared this to being like a singles race. Anything could happen in a singles race in the last 500. The Australians are looking good. The medal positions are still very much to be fought out here, and I think anything could happen. As you say, Martin, the Hungarians powering it on, looking strong at this point.
Yeah, for me, the Germans over on the far side, they're starting to throw up a little bit of water. They're starting to look a bit fatigued. Looks like the momentum might be with the Hungarians here, looking to get themselves into silver. I think is a good shout, Martin.
Yeah, that's Junior Bellosimon, the 29-year-old in the stroke seat. We saw a shot of him, nice, cool, relaxed. Adrian Juhas, 27 years of age, in the bows. The British hanging on there. Impressive performance, impressive answer to that Hungarian surge.
There's still plenty to go there. They're only just coming to the red buoys now. There's still 250 metres. That's probably 30 strokes in a Cox Pair. So still a lot to happen.
When would you go? Would you go